Rendon.
Here.
Patterson.
Here.
Ashajian.
Here.
Bonilla. Burke. Daly. Eggman. Garcia. Hadley.
Here.
Hernandez. Obernolte.
Here.
Quirk.
Here.
Santiago. Ting. Williams.
We have a quorum. I'd like to announce that AB 213 by Mr. Ridley Thomas has been pulled from today's agenda and will not be heard today. We will also be adopting the 2015-2016 committee rules today. Is there a motion?
Second.
There's a motion by Mr. Achajian, second by Mr. Quirk. Call the roll, please.
Rendon.
Aye.
Rendon, aye. Patterson.
Aye.
Patterson, aye. Ashajian.
Aye.
Ashajian, aye. Bonilla. Burke.
Aye.
Burke, aye. Daly. Daly, aye. Eggman. Eggman, aye. Garcia. Garcia, aye. Hadley. Hadley, aye. Hernandez. Obernolte. Obernolte, aye. Quirk.
Aye.
Quirk, aye. Santiago. Ting. Ting, aye. Williams.
The rules have been adopted. First and last up today is AB 401 by Mr. Dodd. Good afternoon.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman and members, thank you for the opportunity to be here today. AB 401 requires the Department of Community Services and Development, CSD, to recommend a plan for statewide low-income water rate assistance program. Water affordability is a central element to water access. When water costs make water unaffordable, it can pose a health and safety issue. Households paying an amount for water that exceeds the affordability threshold are considered to be paying a cost that is unaffordable and a high burden. However, there are a number of different water districts with small and declining ratepayer base, and these districts often increase the water rates they charge to cover their infrastructure costs. In some service areas, water rates have jumped as much as 300% since 2006. This problem is brought home to me by events in Lake County community of Lucerne in my district, a very low-income community. In 2005, water rates went up by 120%, followed by another increase of nearly 42% a few years later. Municipal districts are hard-pressed to discount rates at all due to state constitutional restrictions that prevent cross-subsidization. You know what I'm saying. Subsidization. A little tongue twister there. Municipal districts, however, as our elderly increasingly retire to small communities outside our urban areas, and as pockets of poverty continue to dot our state landscape, water affordability problems will continue to persist. AB 401 takes a step towards addressing water affordability problems by directing the Department of Community Services Development to study this issue and report back to the legislature with recommendations on possible statewide solutions by 2017. This will allow the legislature to consider future action which would assist low-income households with the affordability of their water service rates. Late on Friday, I became aware of some suggested amendments made by the California Water Association, which I believe do have merit. I'm happy to work with them on this as the bill moves forward. I'm also unaware of any other opposition to this bill at this time, and I ask for your aye vote.
Move the bill.
We have a motion and a second. Would you like to speak in support?
Jennifer Capitolo on behalf of the California Water Association, representing 113 utilities regulated by the Public Utilities Commission, about 6 million customers or 16% of the population in California. Many of our customers are rural and low income and are customers of our Class A companies. So companies that serve more than 10,000 customers currently do have the opportunity to apply for and receive benefits from our low-income rate assistance program called LIRA. We did meet with Assemblyman Dodd and talk about some other things that could be included in the study since we have experience in running low-income rate assistance programs. A couple of those things that I want to share with you are how the program could be financially sustainable. Looking at long-term growth in the program, we've seen more people enrolling year after year, and we're not sure about sustainability of the program based on our current funding model. So looking at other funding models of how this program could be funded rather than just the model that we operate under currently. Also making sure that the program is transparent to customers. How would customers be informed about how they're being how this program is being paid for and how it's being applied to low-income customers' rates. One thing that we've really had a hard time with is verifying income status for low-income people. And as water utilities, we've relied on the energy utilities to do all of the income verification. And we just take their word for it and enroll anyone in our low-income rate assistance program. I'm not sure if that's the best way to do it, but if there's a piece that someone who is running this program could help with that verification of income as that comes together. Also, would the program be state-run or locally ran? And then last, we have had this idea, and it actually operates this way in some other states, where the rate assistance program for energy and water are actually combined, and they're collected as a single fee, and those two programs are combined. So those are some of the suggestions that we think that the study should look at as well.
Thank you. Others in support?
Rebecca Lee, on behalf of the Office of Ratepayer Advocates, just here to add on support. Thank you.
Thank you.
Danielle Blassett with the California Municipal Utilities Association. We actually don't have a support or an opposed position, but we did file a letter of concern regarding Proposition 218 restrictions. So we represent municipally owned utilities. So I just wanted to, we've had very constructive conversations with the author's office and think this is an important issue. So we look forward to working with his office moving forward. But I did want to bring that up for the committee's attention. So thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone in opposition to this bill? Questions from the committee members? Mr. Achajian first, and Mr. Quirk.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Dodd, couple question and concern. One was brought up by the young lady who spoke, but prior to that question, would this have been an easier task to accomplish if it was a district bill rather than a statewide?
Well, we thought about that. There's a couple of different places in my district. It probably would be a lot easier to answer your question, yes. But at the end of the day, so many of you have water districts with low-income ratepayers in there that deserve to have a similar type of response to their needs as well. And we thought it would be best to do it in this manner.
Going back to Proposition 218, which clearly spells out that you may not impose additional fees to wherever the discount has to be, the gap has to be filled in by ratepayers. You got to take that money from somebody else to give somebody else a discount. Have we looked into that law, if it's in a violation of the law or?
Well, that's one of the reasons we asked for this study to be done. Instead of bringing a definitive bill before this committee, we thought it was important that the department take a look at this and look at all the different options available and all the obstacles available for us, for the legislature, to determine what can be done when that study is over.
So, and do we know when the study will be done or?
2017.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Quirk?
Thank you, Chair. So I certainly heard the concerns about 218, and certainly a study that is not going to overturn 218. It may come up with alternatives, which could be, for all I know, something going on the ballot, which would allow. But, I mean, we have low income for telephone. We have low income for energy. I just can't see why we don't do it for water. I mean, we are probably, by not doing this, in violation of UN standards, much less just the standards we have here as people in California. So I heartily support this. And furthermore, if it means revising 218, then I think we should revise 218.
Mr. Patterson?
Obviously, just the 218 is a concern for obvious reasons, but also the self-certification with respect to those who are eligible. We have had numerous hearings, lots of different concerns over the CARE program prior. There seems to be a great deal of uncertainty about the self-certification, or how do we make sure that it is not taken advantage of. And I think I would be looking for the 218 issue to be seriously addressed, and also the certification. There should be some kind of responsibility, I would think, to make sure that this is not just something that's granted to anybody that checks a box.
Right. Member, I have no argument with what you're saying. I think that would be a recommendation or part of a bill down the line as far as this study is concerned. I'm sure the department is going to be looking at both the 218 issue and the self-certification issue and making recommendations.
Would, in the intent language, at least in the material before us, is to study a method for collecting money from ratepayers.
Right. Well, there's private ratepayers and there's public ratepayers. So there.
But that does, in an exclamation point, highlight the 218 issue.
Exactly, and that's what we would expect to come out of the study to, make a determination and a recommendation. Like Assemblymember Quirk said, that may mean a measure. That may mean something else, but we're not going to know until this study is done. And I think it's just in fairness to those ratepayers that are in this predicament. It's to be my hope that this committee would, bring this bill forward so we can find the answers to these questions. And your two questions are very, very important, obviously, to any future bill passing in this regard.
But is the intent to study these, not to create a study that creates ratepayer responsibility to pay for this?
Well, I think it's a study. It's a study to determine, one, the problem. I think we know that there's a problem right now. And so what we want to know is what is the best way and what's the most effective way for ratepayers, in the low-income ratepayers in the state of California, given the obstacles that will be identified within the study, to have rate assistance.
There are other ratepayers other than ratepayers who need assistance, and it would be the ratepayers who would be paying for this. That needs to be some. I would have to have some kind of clarity to make sure we're not, cost shifting or in some way abrogating fundamental responsibilities with respect to who pays what. And there needs to be real clarity on a water bill that your rates are.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Dobb, but this is calling for the development of a plan, not necessarily the implementation of any measures.
It's definitely not the implementation of any measures. Correct. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Again, I'm not going to. But the language does specify ratepayer, and that's an area of concern.
Mr. Hadley?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a question for the woman who spoke on behalf of the Office of Ratepayer Advocate. And this is...
Ms. Lee?
The lady who spoke on behalf of the Office of Ratepayer Advocates. Just to understand the mandate of the ORA, because as Assemblyman Patterson pointed out, the framework of the study that's proposed is to have this funded by ratepayers, not the study, but the potential low-income relief. So how does the mandate of the Office of Ratepayer Advocates work when the explicit goal of the study is to shift cost burden from one group of ratepayers to another group of ratepayers? Is there statutory or internal language to the ORA that would govern your position on such a study?
So, Rebecca Lee, on behalf of the Office of Ratepayer Advocates, to clarify Assemblymember Hadley, your response, our statutory mandate is to advocate for the lowest rate possible for water, energy, telecom ratepayers, and we are in support of this measure because we are active participants in various water rate cases that before the California Public Utilities Commission. And through our work reviewing the proposed water rate increases, we are very acutely aware of affordability problems across the state, especially places like Lucerne, Antelope Valley, Apple Valley, for example, and we see that there are some places in the state where simply water has become unaffordable, and we're seeing service disconnections. And so, yes, I think in the review of such potential program, they would have to be the consideration of program cost and how those costs shall be allocated or be funded. But to having a study, we do support having a study that would illuminate both the need for such program or not, and also maybe highlight some issues that we may have missed and not yet aware of. So I don't know if that answers your question, Mr. Hadley.
But if it's a study to fund low-income relief by other ratepayers, the net impact of the cost of water on ratepayers is zero, or it's actually negative. It's harmful to the extent there are administrative costs. So if the net effect on ratepayers as a group is zero or harmful, how can the ORA take a position in favor of the study?
While you're correct, if there is such a program, somebody has to pay for it, and so that is not something that we shy away from acknowledging. But we do have the precedent of having low-income assistance programs because water is an essential service. People do need to consume it as a matter of staying alive, and people need to have good quality water. And we want to make sure that affordability isn't in a way of a customer's abilities just to be able to keep their family healthy and be able to pursue economic activities, etc. So we are not if just back as matter of background, the state that, as Jennifer had already mentioned, California, all those Class A water companies in the state have already have a low-income water assistance program. So those programs are paid by the non-participating customers, and so we do our due diligence to make sure the program is used most effectively without excessive administrative overhead costs. So that's something that that is a regular component of our review before in our practice. So I think having a study would illuminate the need and also potential ways to inform the ongoing programs that's currently at the California Public Utilities Commission.
I thank the lady from the ORA.
Thank you, Mr. Hadley. Mr. Santiago? And then Ms. Garcia. You okay? Mr. Santiago's okay. Ms. Garcia?
On this cost-shifting issue, it's a study, and one of the items that we hope to obtain from the study is how we would pay for this, at which point as a legislature we could decide that cost shift, and if it's a cost shift on ratepayers that we feel comfortable with or not. So I think while it doesn't say that, we will by default get that information and get to make that decision when this comes before us in 2017. And so I don't see the issue of it not being clearly in there, and it is a decision we'll have to make at that point if there's a cost, and maybe there's alternative funding out there.
Thank you, Ms. Garcia. Any other questions? Ms. Ziegman?
Just a question of the author. So you're just saying it's better to make policy based on actual data and information. Is that what this is for?
Thank you, Ms. Engman. That's exactly right. And, the California Water Association has some suggested amendments, I think, to address some of these issues, and we're more than willing to work with them moving forward. Thank you for that.
Any other questions, comments? Thank you. I want to thank the author for bringing this bill forward. It's an important step towards developing a plan for water affordability, which is a huge issue in my district and throughout the state, both with respect to municipal districts and IOUs. So the chair's recommendation is due pass to appropriations. Would you like to close?
I just respectfully ask for an aye vote. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Please take the vote. We have a motion from Mr. Quirk and a second from Ms. Garcia.
Due pass to appropriations. Rendon.
Aye.
Rendon, aye. Patterson. No. Patterson, no. Shawjin.
Aye.
Shawjin, aye. Bonilla. Burke.
Aye.
Burke, aye. Dally. Eggman. Aye. Eggman, aye. Garcia.
Aye.
Garcia, aye. Hadley.
No.
Hadley, no. Hernandez. Obernolte. No. Obernolte, no. Quirk.
Aye.
Quirk, aye. Santiago. Aye. Santiago, aye. Ting. Aye. Ting, aye. Williams.
Aye.
Williams, aye. 9-3. That bill is out.
That bill is out.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Thank you, members.
I'll keep the roll open for 5 minutes for anyone who would like to add on.